1 year since the burning down of the Marivilska market hall in Warsaw, Prime Minister Donald Tusk and his ministers have confirmed something that's long been suspected. Russian intelligence is responsible for the arson. This confirms the information revealed by Lithuanian intelligence in March. An operation at the behest of the Russian state. This is the cause of last year's huge fire at the Marivilska market hall in Warsaw. 2 Ukrainian citizens, Daniil B. and Alexandra V., are charged by the prosecutor's office with participation in an organized criminal group and complicity in an arson attack ordered by Russian intelligence. The group's goal was to carry out arson attacks on large-scale facilities on the territory of European Union countries. The group is also responsible for, among other things, the torching of an IKEA store on the 9th of May 2024 in Vilnius. Daniil B., even before the fire broke out, was ordered by Alexander V. to record the incident and the actions of the firefighting and rescue services. The first suspect is in custody in Lithuania. The second is hiding in Russian territory. Thus, the information that the Lithuanian prosecutor's office revealed back in March has been confirmed. The criminal acts were committed by a then juvenile foreigner, acting in the interests of the Russian GRU, as well as Russian Federation security services, as part of a previously formed organized terrorist group whose objective, together with other operatives, was to commit crimes in Lithuania and Latvia. The information had already been passed on to the Polish authorities. The Polish services were busy with other things, such as trying to sabotage Karol Nawrocki's presidential bid. I want to make it very clear that I am not aiming my criticism toward the rank-and-file officers of Polish intelligence services, but there are questions about the administration. The charges were not heard by those directly responsible for starting the fire. However, the head of the Interior Ministry and coordinator of special services, Tomasz Siemoniak, argues, thanks to the work of Polish investigators, the perpetrators of the arson and arson attempts, as well as their clients, have been identified, and most remain in custody or have been tried. In response to a question from the news agency niezależne.pl, a spokesman for the prosecutor's office responded briefly, "No one has been tried." MP Konrad Berkowicz reacted to Donald Tusk's assertion on social media, "We'll get everyone." The perpetrator of the murder of a soldier at the border is still at large. The immigrant from Opole is running free. Last Generation is running amok. So please, file these campaign posts away with the fairy tales. You are not doing anything. So far, Foreign Ministry Chief Radosław Sikorski has decided to close the Russian consulate in Krakow until at least the 30th of June. I can already see how the Soviets are dismayed that the consulate is closed. Our consulate may soon be closed as well, and it will end there. These words, after a visit to the Foreign Ministry, were directly confirmed by the Deputy Russian Ambassador to Poland. There will be retaliation. Our relations are not good. The Polish side has decided to make them even worse. Experts do not rule out acts of sabotage may continue, not only in the form of arson attacks, for as long as the war in Ukraine continues. The Russian Federation is at war with NATO, and this means that countries that border Russia, Ukraine, Belarus are naturally the first targets. The fire at the Marivilska shopping centre in Warsaw happened exactly 1 year ago. About 2,000 retailers and their employees were affected. Just last week, 1 million Polish zloty was spent on an unofficial election campaign on social media. The mysterious profiles, You Know How It's Not, and Table of Adults have sparked controversy over an intense political campaign on Facebook that has reached millions of views. Both profiles, which have only a few dozen likes, are linked to a Hungarian company with the acronym KFT, with pages registered in Germany and using fictitious addresses in Warsaw and Gdansk. Without mentioning an election committee, they are running the most expensive black PR campaign in Poland, targeting Karol Nawrocki and Sławomir Mencen while promoting Liberal candidate Rafał Trzaskowski. Both profiles' business model are raising eyebrows. They spend a lot of money on harassing Karol Nawrocki and Sławomir Mencen, opposition presidential candidates. Materials praising Rafał Trzaskowski are also promoted by these profiles. In this story, we have two almost identical pages whose sole purpose is to run a hate campaign against Sławomir Mencen and Karol Nawrocki. They are sites run by a single entity which has a mysterious name and whose origins are not completely clear. The Observatory for Economic Development and Democracy, in its report on the profiles of You Know How It's Not and Table of Adults, indicates that both sites were created almost simultaneously at the end of March 2025. They have the same telephone number and the same domain registrant. What a coincidence. It's a good thing that the anonymous campaign in favour of Trzaskowski, unsigned advertisements in his favour or spitting on his opponents, is growing in parallel with the official one. Neither site reveals its owner. However, a common clue appears in the records. The name KFT is the name of a limited liability company in Hungary. This is an interesting phenomenon because not much is known about this company other than that it gave a Hungarian origin number in the domain registration data. It can therefore be assumed that it was the Hungarians who registered the company in Poland. Less than a week before the first round of the presidential election, the two profiles of the Hungarian company registered in Germany spent almost 259,000 zloty on dirty campaigning. The money allowed them to overtake the candidates' official committees in terms of coverage. It all looks like a coordinated campaign in which the Your Voice Matters Foundation, an organization financed by state-owned companies, is also involved. They have launched special campaigns on the internet and from abroad, hoping on the one hand to demotivate those who can no longer stand Rafał Trzaskowski and Donald Tusk, and on the other to prop up a candidate who can no longer be promoted as he compromises more with each passing day. All the signs point to micro-targeted campaign professionals. Such a campaign is prepared by experts. It's certainly not the work of Rafał Trzaskowski's supporters, some of whom are amateurs. What is most questionable is that these domains were registered by a German registrar who had previously been involved in Russian propaganda actions. Is Rafał Trzaskowski's staff receiving unofficial and illegal support in the campaign? Let's hope that this will not go unnoticed. It may be necessary to inform organizations such as the OSCE, which, at least in theory, is responsible for monitoring the correctness and fairness of the elections. Well, it is already apparent that this is not necessarily the case. The possible involvement of foreign companies in the Polish presidential campaign is causing serious controversy. If these reports are confirmed, it will be a serious violation of the electoral law. In Poland, an election campaign is financed exclusively by an election committee, and it is absolutely forbidden to provide this committee with any material or non-material benefits other than those specified in the code. It is also absolutely forbidden to finance an election campaign from abroad. Only Polish citizens may do this, not legal entities. One thing is certain. Huge sums of money from unknown sources are undoubtedly benefiting Rafał Trzaskowski's campaign, and the race for the presidential palace continues.
This Sunday, Romanians will go to the polls to elect the country's president in the second and final round of voting. The representative of the ruling pro-European center-left is Nicu Șordan, the mayor of Bucharest, who emphasizes his ties to the European Union's ruling elite. His opponent is George Simion, a 38-year-old politician who emphasizes his patriotism and opposition to EU policies, migration, climate, and armaments. The Romanian political campaign sounds familiar because Poland and Romania face similar challenges. On the evening of May 4th, supporters of Romania's conservative right had reason to rejoice. The first round of the repeat presidential election ended in a crushing victory for their candidate. George Simion, despite polls giving him just over 30% support, won nearly 41% of the vote. Nicu Șordan, the liberal mayor of Bucharest, checked in second place. The Romanians have said that they want to maintain their nation-state, be a member of NATO, an ally of the United States. They oppose experiments like the Green Deal, the Migration Pact, or the promotion of LGBT ideology. They put their country's Christian culture and traditions first. Their candidate is George Simion, who makes allusions to Donald Trump's common-sense policies.
Best partner for the United States together with Poland. We totally bashed the globalist here in Romania. We won. I had 40% of the votes, and my opponent in the second round had only 20% of the votes. He is the mayor of Bucharest. As I told you, in Washington, we'll have elections in Romania and Poland for naming the next presidents of Romania and Poland. Me and Karol Nawrocki are being the candidates on the MAGA ticket. So the Romanians love the American people, freedom, and President Donald Trump. We won big time yesterday, and the same thing will happen in Poland with our friend Karol Nawrocki.
Recent opinion polls in Romania show Simeon having a nearly 10% lead over Nicu Șordan. The Romanian left is sounding the alarm, accusing Simeon of wanting to leave NATO and the European Union. Meanwhile, Romanians want to punish the authors of the so-called Romanian scenario, where the Romanian presidential elections last fall were abruptly annulled. Back then, the authorities, backed by the European elites, decided that they would be the ones to decide who could be voted for. This was opposed by the citizens. This Sunday, another episode of the Romanian scenario will play out. There is a good chance that, in the last scene, the undemocratic government will go down in flames. Istanbul, Turkey's largest and most populous city, its financial, commercial, and cultural epicenter, and this Thursday, the arena of a political event that the whole world will be watching. Volodymyr Zelensky is challenging Vladimir Putin. After the Russian dictator proposed negotiations between the two delegations in Turkey, the Ukrainian leader set only one condition: a face-to-face meeting. I expect Putin to appear in Turkey in person, and that this time he will not look for excuses. We are ready to talk about ending this war. Donald Trump stresses that actions speak louder than words. He doesn't want the Kremlin to be playing any games. He demands an immediate ceasefire on the front and serious talks about peace. It's a message for both Moscow and Kyiv.
I have a message for both parties. Get this war ended. We're losing 5,000 soldiers a week, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers, and other people also, by the way. And I say, get this stupid war finished.
The question is whether Vladimir Putin, after years of ordering the bombing of Ukrainian civilians, will feel up to the task of looking the Ukrainian president in the eyes, or will he opt to keep hiding in the Kremlin? Moscow has a dilemma on its hands. Putin would like it all to be on his terms, for the Ukrainian side to give way on a great many topics. In Ukraine, everyone is hoping for peace. As a soldier and as a citizen of Ukraine, I believe that we can talk to Putin, but we must demand a return to the borders before Russian aggression. No one gave Putin the right to occupy our lands. There is a constant exchange of fire on the front lines, and Russian crimes are not stopping. Pope Leo XIV prayed that the long-awaited truce would finally come in eastern Ukraine. I carry in my heart the suffering of the beloved Ukrainian people. I ask that everything possible be done for a true, just, and long-lasting peace. But Putin has already shown more than once that he has no peaceful intentions, that his goal is to conquer territory, destroy cities, and terrorize defenseless civilians. He has no issue saying one thing and doing another.
Putin has said, but what they have done, I mean, overnight, again, over 100 drone attacks on Ukraine. So in order to go into any peace talk, there has to be ceasefire. And we also need to see that Russia wants this, to show goodwill, to sit down and talk to Ukrainians. So it is not there. We have to put pressure on Russia to really want peace and to sit down and to talk with Ukraine.
Donald Trump has already announced an additional package of sanctions and the cessation of talks with Moscow if Putin tries double-crossing him. He has until Thursday to take up the challenge thrown by Volodymyr Zelensky.